Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I created this video, and I have to mention that it was heavily inspired by Iman Ghadzi himself. I hope you'll enjoy the video and find it useful. So, without wasting time, let's dive into it. The first thing we're going to do is to create this tiled floor you see here, which can be achieved by creating a grid background in After Effects. So let's open After Effects and click here to create a new composition. Let's name it Iman Ghadzi Editing Style. No need to change any other thing here. Click OK, and there you have your new composition ready. Now hover your mouse to this area, and right-click, then choose New, then Solid. It's always best practice to assign layers names based on their intended purpose. For our case, we'll name this layer Grid Floor. Click OK. Now go to the Effects and Presets tab and type in Grid, then drag and drop it to the grid floor layer you just created, and you'll see a grid appear on the screen. We want to change it to 3D so it can resemble a real floor surface. To do that, simply click on this checkbox below this cube icon, and 3 arrows will appear indicating X, Y, and Z planes. Press R on your keyboard to reveal the rotation settings, then adjust the orientation angle settings until you find that perfect floor appearance. Adjust these parameters here to make the grid smaller, and then change the border to 10. For the blending mode, choose Screen. This makes the grid blend with our background screen, but since our screen layer is black, you can't notice anything for now. Go back to Effects, look for Gradient Ramp, and drop it onto our layer. Move it above the grid so that it sits above the grid on the screen. Now choose the start and end colors. Find a darker start color and a lighter shade for the end color to make the grid floor appear as if it's fading as you move further away. Reduce the grid opacity to about 30, like that. And we're pretty done with creating the floor. Next, we want to create this cool animation of buildings sprouting randomly as they form a city. Here, we'll first need to find a vector image to work with. With a vector image, we can isolate the components of the image, and that means we can have all these buildings here as separate layers, and we can animate each one of them individually as we desire. I already have my vector image ready, but let me quickly show you how I found it. I've noticed that Iman Gadzi sources his vector images from Freepik. Let's quickly head to freepik.com and we'll search for Cityscape. Then click here to filter for vector images only. By the way, this is the same image Iman used in his video that inspired me to create this tutorial. Now when you download, it comes as a zip file with several formats. Make sure to use the file with the EPS extension. I'll show you another online tool that works like Adobe Illustrator, and it's what I use to clean up my vector images before importing them to After Effects. It's called Photopea. I like it because it's handy and can be accessed on the browser without having to download anything. I'll open Photopea on my browser and import the EPS file I downloaded. Now here's where the magic happens. Look at all these layers here. They represent the individual pieces used to make this image. There are many tiny pieces of shapes organized to form our image of the cityscape. You can see I'm now able to single out the individual pieces when I click on different parts of the image. Let's get rid of the unwanted fluff like this shadow, which I don't think is needed. We also want the background transparent, so I'll take it out, and I also think these windows will not be necessary. Again, let me delete them. There you go. I think we have it all cleaned up now, and it's time to import it to After Effects. But before that, come here and select Save as PSD. Then when importing, make sure to select Import As, and then Composition Retain Layer Sizes. With our image opened in After Effects, we first need to align it with the floor, like this. Now we want these layers of buildings to sprout as if the buildings were being constructed, but they should be a little random. Here's how to do it. Double-click here to open the individual layers. Then randomly position the beginning point of each layer you want to animate at a different time, but within a range of about 2 seconds on your timeline. This takes time, so I'll just speed up this part. Done. Let's play the video and now watch the buildings appearing randomly at different times. But we want them to look like they're being constructed from the ground up, so we'll use keyframes to achieve that effect. Select all layers and hit P on your keyboard to open the position settings. Click anywhere on this space to deselect everything, and now select the first layer. Position your playhead here at the beginning, then move it down a bit, and click here to set a keyframe. Notice these keyframes have the same values which represent their original position. We'll be moving our buildings along the y-axis only, so keep in mind this value of 350 is our original position. Now move the playhead a few frames forward and type here 350 to return it to the original position. Repeat the same for all the other layers. Select all keyframes, then right-click and choose Easy Ease to make them smoother, and also click the checkbox below this icon to add motion blur. Now if you play, it looks like this. Next, we want to create these boxes you see here. Go to the Shape Layer menu and choose the Rounded Rectangle tool. Click and drag to draw the shape, then click this tiny checkbox here. If you can't see the box, go down here and click Toggle Switches Modes. What you have done here is that you've turned your rectangle box into an adjustment layer, and now any effect applied to this shape will be reflected in the layers behind it. To give it a frosted glass look, search for Fast Box Blur in Effects and drag it onto the layer. Adjust the blur radius appropriately. Let me just move it here so you can see the blur effect clearly. And we're done with that part. Before we forget, just rename this to Box 1. We'll duplicate it later to add the other two boxes. Okay, for the animation, open up the rectangle path and uncheck this box with a link on it. This gives you the freedom to animate only the width of the shape like we want to do. Reduce the width, like so, and click on the timer icon, then move a few frames ahead and increase the width to the full size. Highlight the keyframes and click Easy Ease, so you will have a smoother transformation. Duplicate the Box 1 layer, and I'll rename it to Box Color to stay organized. We'll use this layer to assign our box the color of our choice. Uncheck the Adjustment Layer checkbox and adjust the color to match the blue theme. Then reduce the opacity to your liking, and also turn the blur radius down to 0, and you'll get that nice frosted glass look. With the Box 1 selected, drag the parent and link icon from the Box Color layer to the Box 1 layer, so it inherits the Box 1 layer transforms. So whenever you move the Box 1 layer, the Box Color layer will move with it. To create the shadow, duplicate this box color, rename it to Shadow, and move it down here. Go to the effects and bring in the gradient ramp. Click on Fill here and choose Linear Gradient. Adjust the shadow by rotating the y-axis till it slants just right. Now turn all layers into 3D by checking this box here. Then we can select all 3 layers, duplicate them twice, and position them beside each other. Look at what we have now when we play the video. Now we want to make these arrows you see here. Right-click this empty space and choose New, then Shape Layer. Rename it to Arrow. Then select the Pen tool from this Tools menu right here, and now you should be able to draw a path like so. Click on Fill and choose None. Then click on Stroke and choose Solid Color. You can change the color by clicking on this box and choosing your desired color, and this other option here is used to change the thickness of the line. We want to add some animation to the line, so let's go to this Add button and choose Trim Paths. Now open the Trim Paths options, reduce the end to 0%, and click on the stopwatch icon to create a keyframe. Move the playhead forward a bit, and increase it back to 100%. And now if you play, you'll see this cool animation. But we want the tail to follow the head. Let me make this a bit wider. So let's place our playhead ahead of the first keyframe. And now we'll click Make Another Keyframe with the Start option. Then go ahead of this other keyframe and move it to 100. If we play it, watch what happens. You can play with the keyframes to increase or decrease the length of the line. To make the tail thinner, go to Taper and increase it to 100. Then let's just change the line cap to round cap. And now look at the results. Let me just tweak it nicely. Duplicate it and move this one to the right. Then select its keyframes and move them ahead of the first. That way the animations will appear in succession. And there you go. Finally, we want the numbers to appear in our boxes this way. Click on the text tool and enter number 1. Position and scale appropriately. Duplicate twice and change this to 2 and this to 3. For this word animation, click to add text and type in your text. Then add drop shadow from effects and also add slide up by word. You'll play with the settings to give it a desired look. Now we need to animate this dollar bill and the hand. Let's start with the dollar bill. I already have it as a JPG file. Let me import it into our composition, then bring it over here and resize it. Then to make it wavy, all we need to do is drag the wave warp effect into the layer and adjust it with these settings here. I'll also import my hand image. Then let's do this little animation using the puppet position pin tool. With the pin tool selected, click on all major joints that will act as anchor points of the finger movement. Move the play head forward. Press U to reveal the pin's settings. Now I'll move the pins to make this space smaller. And there you have it. You can see these buildings are seen from below the base here, which looks quite unnatural. But let me show you how we can fix that quickly. Open the object layers, then pick the rectangle tool and draw a mask from the base of the cityscape. Look, we have them now coming right from the base. Finally, we want to achieve that camera movement, and what we need to do is go to Layer, New, then Camera. And now we can use position keyframes to zoom our entire composition in and out. This is the video I ended up with.
If you want to build your video editing skills and start making money in the shortest time possible, you just landed in the right place. Let me show you 3 tested and proven steps to go from 0 to thousands of dollars per month in revenue as a video editor.